Hey everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Music. I'm Scott and I am a humongous Alter Bridge fan. Just look at my tattoo. They are by far my favourite band and I followed them since their formation. With new album Walk The Sky out, I thought what better time to spotlight one of the best rock bands on the planet and factor this new release in. So since 2004, Alter Bridge have given us 6 genuinely outstanding rock albums. Like next level stuff. Miles Kennedy's vocals hit and sustain notes that leave you wanting breath. Mark Tremonti is easily one of the finest guitarists working today and has only strived to push boundaries for over 2 decades. Not to mention his solo albums are thrash metal bangers and his technical chops are insane. Then there's rhythm section Brian Marshall on bass and Scott Phillips on drums, locking everything in with punchy grooves and powerful beats. Alter Bridge are a band that refused to stick to formulas that were mostly outdated when they first got together, and the result has been one hell of a ride for both the band members and all of us. Now, this ranking is going to be incredibly hard. Each album here has so much to offer, and I cannot stress enough how AB are one of the true modern greats. But I'm Scott from WhatCulture.com, and this is Alter Bridge, ranking every album from worst to best. Number 6, The Last Hero. Okay, I know, look, something has to be last. And for as much as I love and appreciate how much lead songwriters Miles and Mark pushed the boat out, conceptualizing a bunch of lengthy 6 to 8 minute tracks with so many riffs, tempo changes and breakdowns, The Last Hero also loses a sense of cohesion throughout that I would say ties the other albums together. Somewhat indicative of the lifestyles each band member was living at the time, the album assembled on the road and then stitched together when Miles had downtime from touring with Slash and Tremonti from his own solo effort, it resulted in something weighty, stuffed full of ideas but lacking a through-line vision. Poison in Your Veins is a stadium slammer with a lightning-fast solo. Losing Patience's opening riff is the bounciest thing Alter Bridge have ever written. Tremonti's guitar work is a continuation of Ab3's more intricate and complex phrasing, leading to something like Island of Fools ending with an almost neoclassical feel, as he lays down some of the fastest picking ever committed to an Alter Bridge record. The Other Side, Cradle to the Grave, This Side of Fate, The Last Hero itself, they're all big, grandiose compositions and I love getting lost in them. But if we're really crunching down on which of AB's albums are their very best overall, and for what they represent as a band, this just didn't hit home like everything else. Number 5, One Day Remains. The album that started it all, firing out the gates with the Black Sabbath style of Find the Real, only to establish that although things like Broken Wings and Burn It Down reminded people of Creed, Alter Bridge were a different beast entirely. A large part of those Creed comparisons came from record label Wind-Up, who insisted on marketing the band as the next Creed, prioritizing ballads over hard rockers for their videos and ultimately setting them up for a reputation that would take years to truly shift. Still, One Day Remains is a stellar record, and every element the band built on was present from the start. Miles' vocals are head-turning from the get-go, elevating tracks like Down to My Last, Open Your Eyes and Shed My Skin. Mark writes some truly uplifting solos that would become a signature trait, with the titular track Find the Real, Down to My Last and Burn It Down really showing his compositional skills coming to the forefront. One Day Remains is the album that had to land for Alter Bridge to even be a viable thing. Mark, Scott and Brian had walked away from millions of dollars to do something for themselves, and to many fans it remains their favourite because of that line walked between old Creed and what the future held. For me, it was only the beginning. Number 4, Ab3. From the second I heard Isolation, I knew this was going to be one hell of an album. I mean, talk about stepping it up. The opening riff from this lead single was so crunchy, so powerful, and so immediately attention-grabbing, it took Alter Bridge into stadiums the world over. Isolation would top the Billboard rock chart and stay there for weeks, elevating the reach of the band tenfold. So many rock fans cite Metalingus from One Day Remains as AB's biggest song, but it's Isolation by a country mile. If you want to give one song to someone and say, here, look, this is why Alter Bridge matters, it's not Edge's theme song, it's Isolation. What a song! What a song! As for the rest of the album, Miles Kennedy took lead songwriting duties, and the whole thing is a concept album. Centered around a wandering soul searching for purpose and meaning, it came from Miles suffering from the hearing condition known as tinnitus, and how this affected the very thing that he wanted to do to make a living. Ab3 is supremely melancholic. Its louder, crunchier moments like Isolation, Still Remains, and I Know It Hurts are juxtaposed with Ghosts of Days Gone By, the homeward longing Coeur d'Alene, and the utterly astonishing Tears in My Eyes, It Is Gorgeous, Words Darker Than Their Wings. This latter track saw the debut of Mark Tremonti on lead vocals, trading passages with Miles, as the song came from a conversation the pair had on the nature of belief. Miles represents an atheistic viewpoint while Mark chooses to believe, the pair of them uniting for the chorus where they admit to each other that they'll only find truth alone at the very end. Ab3 also has my personal favourite vocal performance from Miles, where on the track Breathe Again, after descending into a lyrical passage about redemption and trying, the sheer amount of notes that he goes through in this one ginormous ascending passage is something else. The phrase, "Oh Miles God," came from moments like this. Ultimately, Ab3 was a mature extension of the positive, uplifting message that so many of their songs already had. It tends to get overlooked thanks to the subject matter and its conceptual nature, but as a body of work, I could totally see this being someone's personal favourite. I know that it certainly used to be mine. Number 3, Walk the Sky. You have no idea how long I agonized over the position of this newest album, Walk the Sky. Because in many ways, it's the best collection of songs Alter Bridge have written, not to mention a confident encapsulation of where each band member is at this point in their careers. You've got these supremely catchy, stadium-enslaving choruses of Wouldn't You Rather, In the Deep, and Godsend. The oh my Christ, I didn't realize guitar tones could be that heavy of Forever Falling and Native Son. The soaring makes me tear up and I love it of The Bitter End and Dying Light. Even Indoctrination feels like the guys have been listening to Ghost and decided to write one of the most menacing songs in their entire discography. It's a band 6 albums in refusing to stick to their guns. Even things like the opening of Pay No Mind and Godsend are injected with frickin' synthwave electronic elements, as Tremonti noted that he found a handful of old John Carpenter-esque samples and just made them work with the Alter Bridge sound. Mark himself returns on lead vocals the whole way through Forever Falling, and Dying Light ends with another guitar trade-off between Tremonti and Kennedy, Blackbird style, as one lays down a beautiful bend-heavy solo, only for the other to pull off a technique that I, as a guitar player, still can't figure out. Walk the Sky is such a solid album. Literally, how many bands this album's in are still operating on this level of quality? It's something all involved should truly be proud of. Miles is singing his heart out. The variety of tracks on offer is everything that started way back on One Day Remains, and Tremonti's guitar playing demonstrates why he's still one of the finest guitarists working today. The only thing stopping this from going higher is the sheer quality of Alter Bridge's previous releases, and it's here where you might disagree with me. Because number 2, Blackbird. Long thought to be Alter Bridge's best album, Blackbird is what came from Mark Tremonti realizing that Miles Kennedy used to be a guitar teacher, and is also an unbelievably good songwriter and player. The elements of blues, softer playing, and overall phrasing to guitar solos saw a massive upgrade between One Day Remains and Blackbird, and it's something thankfully recognized in the modern day, as after being highlighted by Guitarist magazine, Blackbird itself is regularly cited as having the best guitar solo of all time. Across the board, Blackbird the album embodies the energy that the band were feeling at the time. Having gotten to know each other on tours years before forming, this was Miles and Mark realizing their assumedly contrasting styles, soft acoustic blues and thrash metal, were actually a match made in heaven. It gave us a batch of songs that combined means there's not a wasted second. It's real lightning in a bottle stuff, and look, just run these down. Ties That Bind, Watch Over You, Come to Life, Buried Alive, White Knuckles, One by One. Blackbird the song speaks for itself, and even bonus track We Don't Care At All is a banger with a stupidly fun tight solo. Speaking of which, Mark Tremonti has long said that before Alter Bridge he hadn't really sat down and composed guitar solos before. In the nicest way possible, you can tell. And after those furtive attempts at crafting guitar parts that could elevate a song through multiple components and phrases on One Day Remains, the solos that he lays down here are genuinely soul-stirring. Brand New Start, Rise Today, Buried Alive, Wayward One. Taken alongside an immaculate rhythm section locking everything together, Scott Phillips beats allowing for Miles and Mark to share the spotlight, Blackbird, like its namesake, utterly soars. And number 1, Fortress. Think about why we love Alter Bridge, why they're such a force in rock music, every genre boundary that they've walked, and the capabilities of all 4 guys and what they bring to the table. Yes, Walk the Sky is accomplished, yes, Blackbird is anthemic and euphoric, but Fortress is utterly relentless in quality and confidence. When you're opening an album with Cry of Achilles, a progressive song with unique time signatures and a twin guitar solo where Mark's half is furious in its proficiency, it cranks a needle that they then maintain for the whole remaining hour. Lover is a deliciously dark track about a relationship ending in a shower of gunpowder. The Uninvited channels Tool with its complex multi-string hammer-on riff. Bleed It Dry is Tremonti laying down a blues solo, perfectly honing everything Miles had taught him, mixed with his own attack on the strings. Speaking of Mark, Waters Rising has him take lead vocals for an entire song, the result being one of the band's best and a brilliant continuation of Tremonti's solo album All I Was, with Miles layering the chorus. On top of all this, you have straight up gent riffs on Farther Than the Sun, the machine gun clatter of Pieces Broken, and the shoulder patting We'll Get Through This of All Ends Well. As if all of that wasn't enough, the title track is a recorded version of the live guitar battles that Miles and Mark had been doing across various tours the previous year. Its entire middle third is dedicated to the pair trading licks and solo patterns, finishing the album off in style by cementing just how far the band had come as both songwriters and bandmates. And it's here where I pass this over to you. Which Alter Bridge albums are the absolute best, and what have you made of Walk the Sky? For now, I'm Scott from WhatCulture.com, and I'm off to debate this top 3 with myself for the rest of time or the next album. Thanks very much for listening, all the best to the band if they see this, and I'll catch you guys soon.